Good morning, good evening, well, we'll just say good time of day, whatever time of day it may be where you're currently watching this. Thanks so much for coming back to another speed build video. If you are new to the channel, well, hey, thank you for joining us. That is awesome, and we are so happy to have you here. Well, I say we, but I am definitely. I'm sure Stinks the cat is probably happy too. She'll be way happier if you bring treats, so just, jot that down for next time. But anyway, for today's build, we have the Sake Yaki. Oh boy, I am in a mood today, sorry. We have the Sake Yaki restaurant. That is a hard one to say. So this restaurant is going to be a family business run by a family that I have yet to create, but they're living in my head, which poor people, not like as in like they don't have any money, but like, oh my goodness, I feel so bad for these people living in my head because it is a confusing mess in there, let me tell you. Anyway, so this is for a family that is going to be doing a Let's Play video. We're going to have kind of a family storyline going on. I mean, you know the thing. A lot of other Sims YouTubers do that. So we're going to do one of those in the Snowy Escape Pack. And they are going to be a family that has a family business. The father used to run the restaurant, but he has actually passed on and left it to his two children. He has a son and a daughter. The son is a little bit older, but the daughter, she was always kind of like daddy's little girl and, just really proud of her father's business, where the son doesn't really, that's just not his thing. Like the whole restaurant business is like not appealing to him at all. So he has actually, the son is off to college and the daughter has been left behind to run the restaurant now that her father has passed on. Her mother does live with the daughter and her husband, and they live just next door actually to the restaurant, and we'll be doing the speed build of their home probably next week, I think. I don't know. But as far as today's build goes, we are only focusing on the restaurant itself. Now the restaurant does have kind of, I guess you would say, two sides to it. So there's the one side that has the sushi bar and the karaoke and everything, and then the other side is the family sit-down area where I guess you would say kind of like a teppanyaki restaurant, but of course it doesn't have the cool tables and the chefs that do the big flaming dinners and all that, but it still has kind of the same feel to those kind of restaurants. Or at least that was the look I was going for. I guess you could call it kind of an ode to my favorite restaurants because, oh my gosh, I miss them so much since this whole pandemic thing started. It's been, oh gosh, how long now? Like 9 months that oh my goodness, I miss so many of my favorite restaurants. So I guess this build was a little bit of longing to go and get sushi and all of my favorite things to eat again in restaurants with people and all the things that come along with that, like, not being in your house for one thing. There's a pizza restaurant actually that is local to us that we used to go to pretty frequently, and I would say about maybe 4 or 5 months into this, I started thinking about that pizza restaurant every single day. Like, I crave it so much, it's ridiculous. I'm definitely a food motivated kind of person. Especially pizza. I mean, come on, it's pizza, but, and, I could, we get takeout at least once a week, but it's just not the same. It's not the same experience, and the food isn't the same. It's, it's a little cold, and it's just not the same. And I know, with all the horrible things going on in the world right now, it's a bit ridiculous for me to be on here whining about pizza. It's definitely a first world problem, but, oh man, I miss pizza so much. So anyway, as you may have noticed, quite a few areas in this build went through a little bit of a change here and there, and maybe a few more changes here and there, but that is pretty par for the course for how I operate when building. I go into things with an idea in my head for how I want it to be. Maybe I'll have an inspiration piece or two, but mostly I like just kind of seeing where the build takes me as it develops, and that can be a little bit chaotic, but that's just kind of how my brain works, and in the end, I think it works out pretty good. I'm sure there are people who would disagree and be like, no, you need to have a plan, you need to do this and that, but I really, it's like with my character creation, I really just like letting things tell me where they're going in my head. Does that make me sound weird? I don't know, maybe. I'm definitely weird, but, whatever. The sushi bar area is definitely one of the places that I went through quite a few different ideas before finally settling on the one that I liked. I guess you could say that that's one time that my ADHD symptoms get the best of me, where I hyper-focus on finding the absolute perfect bar ideas for a sushi restaurant, and then I get so many ideas in my head that they all just jumble into a totally useless mess. And so I guess to combat that, I just did what I thought in the end I would like to see in a sushi bar, and I really think it turned out better than the original plan that I had, so I was pretty happy with that. Overall, I would say I'm pretty happy with how the entire restaurant turned out. It really turned into one of my favorite builds that I've done recently, and I can't wait to move the family in. I did take over the spot used for the rental home in the Wakaba District of the Mount Komorebi map, and I wasn't too happy about getting rid of one of the rental properties, but I figured there are 3 of them, and really, how many am I going to use? In the end, it was a worthy sacrifice because there really aren't any restaurants on the Mount Komorebi map. I mean, yeah, there's the bar and there's the lounge, but those aren't really true restaurants. Even though you can get food there, it just doesn't have the same feel to it. So I figured we needed some kind of a restaurant for dates or other kind of social events going on. Maybe we can have a kid's birthday party. Who knows, but there are definitely some things that lend themselves more to a restaurant setting than a bar or a lounge. So I figured it was important to add at least one restaurant in the area. And on top of that, it is a vacation spot. So of course, you need restaurants for a vacation spot. I plan on doing kind of a similar thing in Soloriya soon also, since I figure we're working on the cold since we're in the snowy escape pack. So what better than to switch things up and do a little bit of building in Soloriya after we're done building here and get some island vibes going on. Of course, now that we can do rentals in all of the areas, we have to do a rental in Soloriya also. It's one area that definitely lends itself to vacation rentals and just building really cool houses that aren't your typical living in houses. So you may notice here and there that the video skips just a little bit, and I tried quite a bit to cut out as much extra as I could in this video. I know my previous build videos have been a little long, so I've been trying to cut them down quite a bit. So I did cut out a number of things that I felt just weren't really necessary to see as part of the build and were just a little bit too tedious to keep in there. So be sure and leave a comment and let me know, do you prefer the longer build videos, or do you like it kind of short and sweet and to the point, or what kind of speed build videos do you prefer to watch? I definitely would love to hear any input on that to kind of see where I can make any improvements. I've definitely been having a lot of fun doing these builds, but I don't want them to be boring for those who are watching. And while I'm talking about that, I do want to say a quick thank you for all of my subscribers. That is just, I cannot believe. I know compared to some, it's not that big of a number, but hey, I am so thankful to all of you who have subscribed. So thank you so much for joining me on this, and I hope I continue to entertain you. I'm also making quite a bit more of an effort to have my builds be more vanilla and as base game as possible. I'm really not going to do that great on the base game. I don't know how people do it. I have so much respect for people who can do just pure base game vanilla builds, because oh man. Even now, like my plants that I'm putting out there, I cannot build without my CC plants. I just have to have my plants. I'm a plant lady, what can I say? But I have had a few people tell me that they have had issues getting my builds out of the gallery, and I think that does have to do with the CC in them. So I am working on that, and you can watch probably my Twitter would be the best place to watch about that. My handle is ghastlysims, just like on all of my social media, so be sure to follow me there, and I will definitely update once I get that fixed and I know for a fact that those builds are able to be downloaded from the gallery. For the most part though, I'd say I did pretty good keeping the CC out of this one, so it should be less of an issue. And everything that I use that is CC in this build, like, those pictures there that I'm putting up, oh my goodness, I love those. I believe it was Lil Simsy that did a video recently on the stuff pack, the CC stuff pack that those came in, and there were so many amazing items. So I definitely, I need to recommend her. I'm sure you've already watched it, because who hasn't? Because her content is great. But yeah, that CC is one of my new favorites. There's a kitchen cabinet that comes in that. It's like a bright yellow kitchen cabinet that she had in her video. It is amazing. It's my absolute new favorite cabinet. So thank goodness that this build doesn't have cabinets, or I would be probably using those and once again be having CC issues. I would say that kitchens and plants are definitely my two weaknesses when it comes to the creative content out there. There are just so many awesome creators that are making just beautiful stuff for kitchens and all of the plants that I love, so how can I say no? The little kitchen area of this restaurant is definitely somewhere where I use just a little bit of CC, but I feel like it really added to the whole feel of the kitchen area. It reminded me a lot of a curry restaurant that I used to go to quite frequently. I really love the way that the wall hangings I'm putting up now turned out. I wanted them to be kind of a wall that you could still see through, that light could still get through, and that would really be an interesting backdrop for the karaoke area of the sushi bar, and they turned out actually way better than I expected them to, so maybe that's just me, but I really like it. And of course I had to add my pipes in the bathroom. I don't know what it is about that set of pipes, but I really just love the fact I feel like they add some kind of realism to older looking buildings that maybe have been there for a while. They've had a few renovations here and there, but there's just little bits and bobs and pieces left of older parts of the building still there. And I love that look on pretty much anything. So you'll definitely see those quite a bit from me, I think. And as far as the sushi bar in the bathroom, I think that's pretty much it. We are getting pretty close to the end of this build, actually. Just a few more pieces here and there going up of decor and clutter and, you know, just the little finishing touches. Oh, and there's another piece of CC, once again, that I used, but it was just too perfect. The little spices that go on the table, of course, you have to have those in that kind of a restaurant. A kind of final area that I used CC in was the finishing up the bar area and adding things to the shelves underneath. Oh yeah, and of course the first aid kit is also CC. But other than that, adding a few things here to the shelves underneath the bar. I added the Young Way Goodies soda cans and items from SIMcredible, and you can find those on TSR fairly easily. Just a few things, you know, food items and sodas and stuff to kind of fill those shelves in a little bit and make them look a little bit more, I don't want to say lived in, but a little more used and like it's an actual bar and not just a bar that's sitting around waiting to be opened, but a bar that regularly grabs sodas and opens them and hands them and opens them and hands them to customers, and you know, just to give it a little bit of a look closer to what an operating bar, I guess, would look like. And I know the candy looks a little bit silly, but that's whatever, you know. Maybe it's maybe kids go in and buy candy while they're out on the slopes or on their way back to their rental house, or who knows. You can always add your own things there, but for now that works. At the very least, it gets the point across that this is an active bar with stocked shelf with items that are used fairly regularly by its customers. Of course, as the family plays through a little bit more gameplay with the build, I will be changing things out quite a bit to kind of better fit the family's personality, but for now I wanted the build to be very family friendly and very kind of generic, I guess. I wouldn't really say generic, but you know, just something that could fit pretty much any storyline that was going on with it. And I do keep saying move the family into this building, but I do want to clarify that the family is going to be living in the next lot over in another home. They are not going to be living in the business. However, I do have the Bargain Bin Yoga Studio that I built. It has a really cool mod from Little Miss Sam that allows you to live in the building. So I have Casey living upstairs in an apartment and then running the yoga studio out of the downstairs of the building, which I definitely recommend checking that mod out. It's one of my favorites. I'm going to be using it to build a daycare here fairly soon that I've been putting together, so I can't wait to do that one. But you can find a link to that mod in the Bargain Bin Yoga video, and of course I recommend both watching that video and checking out the mod. because all of her mods are cool, but I think that's definitely been one of my favorites to play around with. There are a number of different live-in businesses that you can do with that mod, and it just adds so much to gameplay to kind of have a Bob's Burgers style, going on where the family lives above and runs a little restaurant, and it just feels a little bit homier and a little bit more intimate. So that's pretty much it for the interior of the building. Just a few more things to add, and then we'll be going to the exterior of the restaurant to work on a little bit of landscaping, add in a few plants here and there, and of course the vending machines. You have to have those. And as I said earlier, I really wanted to stick to kind of a minimal scheme when it comes to the landscaping for the exterior of the building. I did add in a couple of trees, but other than that, I really just stuck with the bamboo for the rest of the landscaping for this building. The weather at Mount Komorebi is definitely very snowy, so it's not really going to do much good to have a lot of plants, and it really is just gonna not end up looking that great underneath all the snow. So I really wanted to kind of stick to things that would hold up in the snow and would really add to it rather than just kind of cluttering up the outside of the building. So we are pretty close to the end of this build, and I do have to say that there is a little bit that was cut out because I accidentally left my recording program on pause while I was building for, oh gosh, probably like an hour. Yeah, there's where I had to skip forward a little bit because I was paused while I was building all the rest of that. So I do apologize for that. I have had pretty bad brain fog lately, that as you can see. So yeah, but that is pretty much it, and I hope you enjoyed, and we will be heading to the screenshots soon, and I will see you in our next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.